right and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Brunton Bugle, the best place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
On today's episode, the gloves are off and it's time to really rip into what's wrong with this Carlisle United team after a desperately poor performance in the 3-0 defeat at Northampton Town, while we look ahead and pray to avoid a potential banana skin in the FA Cup clash with non-league Horsham at Brunton Park. That was close. I was rushing it with it because
you were rushing it, and then there was a very slight pause at Brunton Park.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't sure the music was about to kick in or something, but because normally it's 3 lines of the max to do, and I'd stretch it to 3.5. And I was like, "Oh, is that pushing my luck a little bit there?" But I mean, the intro says it all, doesn't it, Dan? We're going to be being quite honest about the performance last weekend against Northampton. Neither of us were there, we should say, but we've spoken to people who were there, and they were very clear on how things went in that game. How are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, apart from the disaster of last week.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the Cup, as always.
Yeah, always look forward to the Division. Yeah. It's one of the most exciting weekends of the year, isn't it?
Would have preferred away to non-league, because we do a non-league away, but...
Yeah, well, I'll take a draw right now and get us the replay. It sounds
That's how bad it is, isn't it?
It is indeed, but yeah, no, I'm pretty good myself. Went to watch Man City against Club Bruges last night. Little excursion to go tick off another ground. I'd never been to a football game out before. I've been to 2 gigs there.
Funny enough, I've never done the City ground for a match yet. I've only done gigs.
Yeah, same me. Oasis and Stone Roses. I think we were at the same Oasis gig, weren't we? I seem to remember.
Yeah, Oasis and Robbie Williams.
Oh well, that's a different pairing.
It was a present for my other half. So,
of course it was. You're not a fan, are you? So there you go.
Oh, I was singing along, especially when Erasure was support.
Excellent. Well, let's get straight into it. I mean, news-wise, there's not really much to say. Dan, the Cumberland Cup clash update. 3-0 win over North Bank the other night. Goals from Kilsby, Charters and Fishburn.
Yeah, I think 2 quite early goals in the first half sort of finished the game, Kilsby and Charters, and then it was quite... I don't think they were at 100%.
No.
Fishburn got the late goal and a routine winning into the hat.
Yeah, interesting that Charters played in this game. Charters and Lewis Bell, actually.
Yeah, and Lewis Bell, yeah. I think probably just because we haven't had much match action, so...
Possibly, and I suppose Charters gives a little bit of seniority, I suppose, as well, and it's one where they try to use the local lads, don't they, I suppose, in that sense, but there you go. So 3-0 win into the next round.
One little thing you've not put on, because you sent this last night and it's happened today. Next week, when it's the Radio Cumbria derby, as we now call it, Barrow have announced that they've sold all 1,500, and it looks like they're not taking any more.
No, interesting, that one. I wonder if there's reasons for that. Has the Waterworks not got a safety certificate at the moment because they didn't really feel they needed one, or is it maybe that they don't want that many more because of police reasons? The club a bit embarrassed that we'd been near enough. About 40-30% of the crowd's going to be Barrow fans potentially. The way it's going, it's an interesting one, that one, isn't it? But yeah, no, fair play to them. Sold out the 1,500. Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd take similar down there, wouldn't we? But we can't because their ground's too small. But there you go.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun when we get 600.
Oh god, it's going to be a scramble, that, isn't it? Yeah. That'll be an interesting afternoon, to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, we've put it off for a whole 4 minutes already, Dan. So let's get into it now. Match review of the Northampton game. So, if Keith Millen wasn't aware of the task in hand as Blues vs 4 last weekend, I think he surely is after witnessing another dire 90 minutes from the Blues. I mean, they made an okay start by all accounts, but it's the same old story, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah, I was listening to it on the radio, and it didn't sound too bad, and then there was a mistake. Well, not a mistake for the first goal, but you can argue that Clough got fouled, but whether he did or not, we conceded a goal, and then it just the heads dropped, and that was it, wasn't it? It was
I mean,
an easy afternoon for Northampton afterwards.
Yeah, once again we capitulated after going a goal behind, and we failed to get a shot on target across the 90 minutes.
Yeah,
that is worrying again, and I think on the evidence of this game, it's going to be a long slog this season, isn't it? A long slog to January until we can actually get players in. We'll talk about getting players in later on in the review section. But
jumping the gun a little here, but I think the one comment from Paul Newton and Chris Lumsden on the radio was the lad Lewis scored that trick against us, and he just had an all right game.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He didn't do anything amazing. He was obviously man of the match because he got a hat trick, but he was like 6 or 7 out of 10. Just did his job. That's all they had to do. They just had to do their jobs.
Northampton had to turn up essentially, and that's worrying when the opposition don't feel like they have to actually. Yeah.
I think it came out afterwards. One of the Northampton players or coaches had just sort of went, "Well, we'll have harder afternoons this season." I think they were trying to be polite.
Yeah.
But that's still ripping into us.
But that's still pretty dismissive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Paul Strongway. I mean, where do you start? I mean, let's start with the goals, shall we? Let's just talk about them. So, I mean, you sort of touched on it already, but the first goal, Clough. I mean, maybe it's a foul, but I mean, he loses it too easily for me. He's got to be stronger than that. He's playing at League 2 level now. You're gonna have fouls like or tackles like that coming on you, or pressure put on you like that. You've got to be a bit stronger. But it does travel quite a distance from there, so it's not like you can just focus on that. Mellor's 1-on-1 in this situation, and the pass goes. He follows the ball, and I've watched this again. I'm like, why is he doing that?
Yeah.
It's going to a player who's got a player marking him already. He doesn't need another player there. And that makes it easy for the other player on the left to get away.
It's basics, this, isn't it?
Really basic, following the ball and not following the man, basically.
It's really basic coaching stuff, this.
The fullback gets away. He's unmarked. He puts a low ball in, which Lewis slides into the net at the far post. Maybe Jack Armour a little bit ball watching on this.
I'm going to defend Armour here because when I've watched it, I've thought, what are the centre backs doing? It shouldn't be getting to that side of the goal.
Possibly. I mean, I did say maybe there because it's one of those ones you look at and you do think it looks like he is, but I think
it's harsh on him, if you know what I mean.
McDonald slid in to try and stop it, but I mean, we'll talk about him in a minute, let's say the least. But Whelan, like you said, I don't think he's doing much there either. And
no.
It's one of those ones. Who's picking up your man running from midfield? Maybe your midfielders need to be there as well. I don't know. Goal number 2. I would just for sake. What?
Do we have to talk about it?
It's just like everything about this is like. I'm half tempted to go online, find an old copy of Danny Baker's own goals and gaffes on YouTube, and see if I can copy some of his chats about one of those goals over the goal. And see if it fits, because I'm sure it will, to some of the things he said in the past.
I've seen better defending on a Sunday League round Carlisle than this goal.
I mean...
It was atrocious.
Let's go from the very start here. So, the ball's with Mellish on the right. He comes inside, and he tries a crossfield past Armour, and he completely it up, basically. It goes way behind Armour. He could have played a short 5-yard pass to Clough, who then could have advanced down the middle.
Yeah.
Now, what I would say here is, right, everyone goes about this, but this is a long way away from the goal being scored. So that's not the fault of the goal being scored. That's just a sort of a byproduct, isn't it, almost, of like, Mellish has got to be better there, and that's why maybe he doesn't work in midfield too. Again, we've got him down as a point to discuss in a minute. From there, Armour gets the ball, and Armour plays it past the guy. It's not really a dangerous pass. There's players coming in, but the guy's got time. And he looks up, and I think he gets ahead of himself. And he leaves the ball behind. It's not like even the ball gets... It's one of those ones where you think, is there a puddle of water there? Has the ball got stuck in a puddle of water? But it doesn't. He literally leaves the ball behind. And suddenly the lad's away, and you're like, oh, God, you can see what's coming here. So the lad's away on goal. What I'd give Guy credit for, though, is he gets back, and he tries to put the tackle in. Whelan's also in pursuit. This bit just... McDonald's barely walking back to the area. In fact, to be fair, actually, he gets back. He actually gets back. It's a little bit of a trot, but he gets back. And then he stands there and watches.
Yeah.
There's no real effort, and the ball comes to Lewis. And Lewis almost like stops as if to say, are you going to come and try and tackle me here?
Yeah.
Are you going to... No, you're not. All right, I'll take a touch and I'll slide it past the keeper. No worries. Thanks for the goal. All the best. See you later. That's what it felt like. It was embarrassing. It was like, I mean, Kelvin Miller, where the hell was he? He got himself massively out of position. If you watch actually back the video, back to where Mellish gets the ball, he's ahead of Gibson. And there's no reason for him to be ahead of Gibson at that point. Gibson's not got the ball, so he shouldn't be overlapping Gibson. I mean, Howard's got no chance with either goal, to be fair. That's, you certainly can't blame him at all in this performance. What's your thoughts on this goal? I don't know if you want to say any more.
You've pretty much said it. It was just shambolic. It really was.
It's symbiotic of a side that does not have a leader, does not have someone organised defence, and you watch it and Guy does a sort of slap his hands on his thighs and arms up in the air, but there's no one there coming out saying, sort yourself out. What are you doing? Why are you standing around?
To be fair, this is something that Chris Lumsden's picked up on, sadly, several times in recent weeks. He's like, Chris has been saying, why is nobody taking charge? Why is nobody dishing out the bollockings? Why is no one grabbing people and saying, come on, And that's, we've already said in previous episodes, there's not really many leaders in our squad, of the experienced players. Howard's in goal, which he can keep an eye on the back four, but past that, they're not going to listen, are they? Alexander up front, he's not a vocal player. And there's pretty much nothing else, is there?
No, there isn't much, to be honest. No argument with that. Goal 3 was a penalty, handball against Armour. I've seen a few angles and I still can't work out whether it's a handball or not. And if it is, it looks very harsh, to be honest with you.
To me, the referee never gave it. Not one Northampton player appeals, and nobody in the crowd appeals. The linesman sees something that I think 5,000 others don't.
I think the lad who crossed the ball did appeal. There's one Northampton player you see who appeals, and then maybe a couple of fans, but not like a huge handball shout.
Yeah.
What I think it might be, and what Armour was claiming, is that he struck his thigh, and it might have gone up off his thigh onto his hand. Which what can you do with that, really?
Well, that's not a penalty.
Yeah,
because that's ball to hand, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a ridiculous decision, but it's given, and to be honest, it's probably as much as they deserve, because by all accounts, the first 10 minutes of the second half, we were worse than even the goals conceded, the goal conceded in the first half. We just looked a mess. And if you watch back, there's one point where the ball comes to Mellish from a high ball in the box, and he tries to clear it, and he slices it back into the box. It's ridiculous. And from there, not much happened. I mean, overall the game, Dickinson started the game. Well, if you watch the highlights, actually, Dickinson puts a really good cross in across the box, and McDonald, he almost tries to play the ball across goal instead of going for goal. Because I've heard a few people criticising Dickinson and saying, he's out injured now, goody, he's not done much. I'm like, he's always overhitting his crosses. He's not overhitting his crosses, it's just no one's getting into them. There's no one in the box. You put a decent striker in there and he probably would have 4 or 5 assists already this season. It's laughable. But so he goes off and Christian Abraham's come on and, he's done now, hasn't he, by looks of things. And it's really pathetic how we continue to collapse in games. It really is, and it's there's no spine to the team. There's no one taking responsibility. No one showing any leadership. And we'll talk about this as well. But it comes back to the summer recruitment.
You could be describing the club as a whole there, to be quite honest, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
But bar the odd person here or there,
Yeah. And it comes back to the summer recruitment, doesn't it, basically? Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about some individual performances. We do this occasionally. We try not to do it every week because you could easily do it, but you've got to in this one. Let's start with Rod McDonald. We can't avoid it. We've defended him on this programme before. Well, I have, particularly, in the past. But there's no chance I can do after that second goal when I watch it back.
No.
Just can't. Surely he must, because they watch back the games on the DVDs and stuff, don't they, right? Surely he watches that back and looks at it and thinks, God, that does not look good. That really doesn't look good. Yeah, he's not like a Joe Riley type who's, all arms and running, and you're going to notice when he's running back. His style's different. He's not a pacey defender. But to do that,
languid would describe his style.
Yeah, and you have players like that. That's fine.
Oh yeah.
Not every player's going to have the same sort of style, but to then stand and watch,
it looks like he just gave up.
Yeah, it looks like he gave up when he got to the area, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's so frustrating.
If he'd fired a tackle in and got a red, at least we say, well, at least he tried to get it.
Yeah.
But he literally just... That's it.
If he doesn't look back at that and feel like he's embarrassed by it, then frankly, pay up his contract now and tell him to go. I don't care if he's one of the only experienced players in the squad.
Yeah.
That's how I'd feel after it. And that's from someone who's defended him in the past. It's so frustrating. And the thing that drives me mad is that he's been a reliable player. Other clubs he's been to. He got the nickname Concrete Rod for a good reason, because he was solid, because he was reliable.
Two promotions he's had.
Yeah, he's had 2, possibly 3. I can't remember. He's definitely had 2, and he's played at League One level with Wimbledon and played a fair few games there.
Yeah.
How has he become such a bad player? And does what is wrong with our club? It's weird, really weird. Callum Guy. We all know what a quality player is.
Have we got his brother this season? Let's get to the chase. Is it John Guy or someone playing? Because
it's his shadow, the same player he was.
It's just not the same player, is it?
No, and he was a quality player last season, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he was talked about for team of the season. His assists were off the scale.
Yeah.
I mean, when he first came in for the first couple of months till he got injured and the season curtailed, everyone thought, well, he looks all right.
Yeah.
Then when he came back, he was fantastic last season.
Yeah. This is where Keith Millen's in a position as a new coach, as a new head coach, someone coming in from the outside. He's got an opportunity here. I think he needs to give serious thought to taking the captaincy off him, and not in a punishment way, almost. Just saying to him, "You're still quite a young lad. You're only 24. It's your first time being a captain.
Who do you give it to?"
Yeah, but this is where you got problem, I suppose. but like, just take the pressure off his shoulders and say to him, "You just go out and play your game. Don't worry about being captain. You just go out and play the way you were playing last season, because we know you're a good player." Who would you give it to? I'd give it to Howard. What I'd do is I'd say to Mark Howard, right, can we extend your contract to the end of the season? Brilliant. Yeah, you're captain now. I know that might put out Magnus Norman's nose and think, well, does that mean I'm not number 1 anymore? Well, yes, it does, because we've got an experienced stopper in, and we're in a situation where we can't afford to wait. Same with Lucas Jensen. If Burnley say, well, we want to take him back in January, well okay then.
To be honest, I think if Howard extends, Jensen goes, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I don't blame Burnley for that. I'm sure Burnley will be annoyed, but we've got our reasons for sticking with, going with an experienced keeper. We have to. And I think it's one of the sensible things Skelton definitely did when he was in charge of saying he took what arguably was a brave decision to bring a keeper in and just stick him in his first choice, and from the outside. Someone coming in raw as well, who'd not obviously been at a club, so potentially could have been unfit. He took that risk, and it's fair play. But yeah, I'd seriously think about that, because I think we all know Guy's a good player. We all know he can be better. Even just say to him, look, I'm going to, just for a while, make him captain. I know it'd be tough and he might be a little bit demoralised in the sense, but you just say to him, look, don't worry about it. What does he want to be known as the captain who takes a club down? That's the risk he's got on his shoulders. But yeah. On to his midfield partner, John Mellish. We absolutely love that, don't we? We love the effort he puts in. He's a little bit of a cult hero of what happened last season, of all his goals, having played in midfield for the first time. And you cannot doubt the effort he puts in on the pitch. But I think it's time for him to have a break from the starting 11. I don't think it's quite working. I think we're not having the same... I think he's actually doing okay in a midfield too, but all the attributes that made him such a good player, we're not seeing now, are we? We're not seeing him get into the box and get on the end of shots and cause problems like that. We're not even seeing him do it on set pieces. He's so much more reserved, and that's not what John Mellish should be about. If you're going to play midfield too, and you want them to be solid and just do their jobs, he's not the man for that. Stick Taylor Charters in there. Stick Danny Devine in there. Put Joe Riley back into midfield. Any of those options, you're going to get more for more bang for your buck. If you played in midfield 3, I'd still play John Mellish, definitely, because I think that the impact he can have going forwards there. But I don't know what your thoughts are on Mellish, Dan.
Yeah, I think he needs a rest. I mean, I'd rest Mellish and Guy, to be honest. I'd play Divine and Riley instead. Riley's been our best player, and Divine, in the snippets we've seen of him, has looked quite a useful player. So,
But then
they're both fresher.
Yeah, Divine wasn't even on the bench the weekend, though, was he? I mean, Charters was, and Charters came on against Oldham, didn't he? So I do wonder if maybe Charters will be ahead of Divine potentially. But I mean, like I say, then you've got a really young midfield of Riley and Charters, but Divine's only 2 years older than Charters.
Yeah,
you think of him like as a 27-year-old, 28-year-old chiseled midfielder who's been playing for years, but actually, Divine's not that old. So it's one of those things you've got to remember as well. We just don't have much experience in midfield right now, really. Let's get on to first impressions of the manager, Dan. It would be harsh to judge him on his first game. He's coming in raw. He's only had them for a few days.
Yeah, we said that last week, and Northampton are flying.
Yeah, but his starting lineup, dropping Riley for Miller, despite the fact that Riley's probably been our best player. I mean, I think he's been our best player this season. And then sticking with Alessandro up and Clough up front, despite it not working, and then being too similar. Worries me that. It worries me the fact that his first major change was basically Mellerin for Riley, wasn't it?
I think that's more round pegs in round holes. Mellor's a right back.
I mean, Riley's good enough for right back.
Yeah, but we see him more as a midfielder, don't we?
Yeah.
And I think he's. I mean, I'd be amazed if Riley doesn't start in midfield on Saturday.
Yeah, I think he will. I think it'll probably be Mellish
regardless of who else gets picked.
I think it'll be right.
I think from what he's said, we can't really do much in terms of recruitment till January.
Yeah.
So it will be round pegs in round holes wherever possible.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people who do. I saw something on Twitter and other places suggesting that it was Skelton that picked the team, and Colin saying again, we need to get Skelton out of the club and things. I mean, it's absolute nonsense that Skelton picked the team. Millen was very clear. To be fair, Millen was very clear before the game. He said there won't be massive changes to the team this weekend because I'm only coming in and I'm basically working from a starting point. What Skelton managed to do over the few games was get us to look a little bit tighter. Not massively, but a little bit tighter and a little bit more effective than we ever did in the last 7 or 8 games under Beach. And then it all came crashing apart, and that's not necessarily Millen's fault, it's not Skelton's fault. It just shows how fragile that squad is right now.
Yeah.
That's what it shows. So I think this nonsense of, that Skelton was the issue of the week, it's nothing to do with that. It really isn't. Just forget that. I mean, to be honest, the squad's just a bit isn't it? If we look at it, I think we probably got overexcited in the summer. I think we thought we were going to get a striker, and we didn't know Hayden was going as well, did we? So
we could do a full episode on the glaring holes in our squad.
Yeah.
We're not going to go on about it forever because you all know what the problems are. But
yeah, I mean, it's the fact that we're lacking quality in key areas, and actually players who previously looked really good for us don't look any good anymore. I mean, Jack Armour's one of the best examples how brilliant he was last season. He looks a shadow of the player he was.
Yeah.
And that's not fair on a young lad like that. The fact that all the pressure's on him in a relegation battle, not getting another left back in, someone who could cover left back and centre back, maybe even. That looks like
I said a left-sided Whelan basically, didn't I?
Yeah.
Who can cover both.
Yeah, that's probably what we needed. And we ended up with, let's talk about Jonathan Dinsey another time. Just utterly ridiculous, isn't it? Interesting criticism of the subs by Millen, I thought. It was nice to hear this, actually, because you don't hear it often from managers. He suggests that he needs to see a lot more from the subs when they come on. Now, I don't think this was in reference to Riley, do we? Because I think it was a reference to forward players, basically. And Riley only came on for the last 8 minutes or so. And he did specifically say after the game, didn't he, that Riley was unlucky to be dropped, actually. He'd done nothing wrong. He just maybe wanted to tighten things up, making it more defensive-minded. But he was very quite clear that he was referring to Mampal, and Abrahams in particular, because he was on for most of the game, wasn't he? Abrams has got to be really careful. He's looking like a real waste of a signing right now, and at the moment, if he's not careful, he'll be end up like a Billy Ricky in a couple of years. Or even closer than that, potentially by the end of the season, they might say, just, you want to find another club, knock yourself out. He's not doing anywhere enough to save
He's on a 2-year deal.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not... I mean, he really needs to pull his finger out his backside. And pronto, because... Yeah, things didn't go off to a great start. I know he's upset about the whole booing of the taking in the knee and stuff like that. Fine, I understand it. That would upset him. But he put in some okay performances after that. You know, we're starting to think, he looks an all right player. But in the last 2 months, I've seen nothing. Nothing to suggest he's a Football League standard player in the slightest.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. And like I said, it's just nice for a manager to come out and say, actually, subs came on, they didn't do enough.
Yeah.
You've got to do more. You've got to impress me. And I'd wonder if Brad Young might look at that and say, well, they didn't do enough. I deserve a start next time instead of I deserve to be ahead of them.
Just while you mention Young, obviously jumping the gun here a bit, is he available this week, do we know?
Well, that's the question. Is Jensen, Young and Dinzey? I'd imagine Dinzey will be. I can't see Arsenal objecting to him playing. Because even if they put some kids out in the first round of a game, he's going to be nowhere near the squad for them.
Yeah.
Either way. I don't know. I mean, he's on a season-long loan, so technically they've no reason to say no.
Yeah.
But if they're looking and thinking, if he isn't allowed to play, that'll be a very clear indicator that they're not happy about the game time he's getting.
Or, yeah, if he's not playing enough sort of thing.
That'll be a sign of, he might be going back in January, actually.
Yeah.
So that would be a worry for me if that was the case.
Because did he not make an FA Cup appearance for Villa last season?
Yes, he was part of that young team that played against Liverpool in the Cup.
That's correct,
First round because of all the COVID issues, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just how do we sort out this defence, Dan? That's a big concern at the moment, isn't it?
We begged Clint Hill to come out of retirement pronto.
I'd beg Dean Warren to come out of retirement, and he just had a hip replacement a couple of months ago. I'd have him in the team ahead of McDonald at the moment, the way McDonald's playing.
Well, at the moment, based on last week, McDonald doesn't get in the 18 for me.
Right, I'm going to get on to this when we do the preview bit, but I probably still would play him now. I'll explain when we get to that bit in the thing. And even though I'm not impressed with him, it's a tough one.
It's tea time when we record this. I can't confirm if Lee's been on the drink all day or what.
I know, it's the case, isn't it? But I mean, like I said, McDonald's totally gone at the moment. Whelan's gone backwards from the start of the season. Feeney's probably the only one who's shown something in recent weeks, but he's been dropped from the team suddenly. And he maybe lacks a little bit of pace. Maybe that's one issue with Feeney. But so what? Many lower league defenders do, and they cope perfectly fine with it by adapting their game. I mean, as for Dinzey, I mean, what the hell is the point in that transfer right now? It's absolutely madness.
It's unfair on the lad because he's been prepared to come 300 miles. It's quite clear that he was 7th choice. Yeah,
he's squad padding, which is embarrassing, really. We shouldn't be going to Arsenal and saying, can we borrow one of your players basically to pad our squad out?
Yeah.
We should be going to Arsenal saying, we want a player to come in and we want to develop him because we think he might be a decent player.
No, we shouldn't be having to go to Arsenal.
No.
We should be able to get Newcastle or Everton or Leeds, all these clubs that have bought players off us in recent years. And is it that bad that we can't say, hey, you took Jared off us. Any chance you've got a centre-back who needs a few games for half a season? Or, Leeds, you took 2 of our lads. Does anyone need a game?
Yeah. I think Leeds are quite particular about who they loan players out to,
Leeds are funny with it, but even so, I think even that's changed a little bit where they sort of realise that they need games now. You know, I mean, daft as it sounds, you could take McCarron on loan to play left back. He's a left back these days, isn't he?
Yeah, you could do. It's just it really infuriates me more. When I went to the City game last night, I was with John Biggie, one of our listeners who runs a baseball podcast. A few you might know who he is. And we were talking about the whole defence thing. And I said, it genuinely, I look back now and it infuriates me that Aaron Hayden was sold on the opening day of the season, effectively, right? There was then 3.5 weeks until the transfer window closed.
Yeah.
Right? And we know we got about 200 grand from selling him. Decent money for a lad who was out of contract at the end of that season. and clearly was not going to extend it any further. Okay? Why are we not taking 50 grand of that and saying, right, let's reinvest it and find a centre-back at a National League club, someone like that, who's played maybe a good 100, 150 games at that level, been a good player, signing them up with that 50 grand, maybe throw a few add-ons into them saying, if we get promoted, we'll give you this much, which would be money well spent, because if we go up, that's what you want.
Well, the crowds would have raised anyway, which would have paid for it. So.
Do that and show you really actually want to go up and you want to do well. Because we were significantly weakened by Hayden's disappearance. I mean, let's forget Tanner for a minute, because Tanner went very late on, and we got a replacement of him with experience, and that's fine. I can deal with that. That's fine. Tanner bit, put it to one side. But the Hayden bit, we lost our best centre-back, comfortably our best centre-back, right? Someone who was an aerial threat in both boxes, could defend really well, really good for set pieces, not just scoring goals, but causing problems, basically, winning flick-ons and throw-ins as well, right? And we never once looked like we were interested in replacing him.
Yeah.
Never once. Yeah, where the hell's your bloody director of football at this point?
And the
should be doing his job and getting a replacement.
The contrasting attitudes from Chris Beach around the transfers of Hayden and Tanner is remarkable.
Yeah, that infuriates me as well.
Hayden, he's got an opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Tanner got blamed for the sinking of the Titanic.
Yeah, and there was pretty much a suggestion, he's only going there to sit in there under 23s. Well, I'll tell you what, he's playing every week from the moment.
Yeah,
and I love him.
So he's proved that one wrong, hasn't he?
Yeah. There was a bit of bad blood there at the end, and I wonder if George is almost seeing what's happening and like, you know what, I need to take my chance to get out now.
Yeah.
And when the Bristol City interest was there, he's like, well, if they offer what on release clauses, then there you go. But yeah, it's just not replacing Hayden. It still baffles me to this day. And it's one of those things that I really think Holdsworth deserves a grilling on. And if he says, I just deal with the manager. It's like, not be funny, but you should be saying to the manager, your defence looks weaker. We need to let's get a quality player in to replace this thing. If Beach genuinely thought we could cope without Hayden, then he's mad. Then he quite frankly deserved to be sacked. But I don't reckon he did. I reckon there's probably said, we're going to keep on that money. We're not going to reinvest it. Because let's be honest, we're going to be paying peanuts of Dinzey's wage. Peanuts. Oh, yeah. Maybe 500 quid a week, maybe, of it.
Probably not even that. That most of these teams don't even ask for contributions now.
Yeah. And if we are paying any more, then it's embarrassing because we're not even. Yeah. He can't even make the match day squad. Dad, it's not even a case of like he's on the bench and not able to get in. He can't even make a match day squad. I mean, we'll move on in a sec, but I mean, quickly, people have mentioned free transfers, and Millen's been very clear. Look, we've got to be careful on that one. And actually, me and you've both had a look, haven't we, on Transfermarkt at the players available who've last played in other divisions. There isn't. Because you look, there's a few there. But actually, then when you check when they last played, some of them are over a year ago.
2-3 years ago, they're clearly retired, it's...
Yeah, like Chris O'Grady's listed, like, well, he's not going to play again. He's not played for like 15, 16 months.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, people said David Wheaton, but David Wheaton made it very clear under the Kosh podcast that he's more or less retired now. Unless he got a really extraordinary offer, which we're not going to make, let's be honest, whether he's based in the North East or not, and it's easy for him to get over, we're not going to make an offer that really probably grabs his attention enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I look through them, maybe David Nugent as a forwards, maybe one, but I'd imagine he'd probably quite comfortable.
Was it Tranmere who was that?
Last season, he didn't do much there, but he's still he's an experienced head, though, isn't he? I suppose that's the one where you look at it. There's a couple of centre-backs in the Championship I look at and think, maybe they'd be worth a look. But that's about it. And even them, I've looked, well, are they going to lower themselves to our level? We were lucky last season with Reece Bennett. We were lucky because...
Oh, yeah, it doesn't happen often, does it?
No. The last two we've done, Clint Hill and Reece Bennett, both had close connections to the managers that they came in to play for. Yeah. That's the difference. The only other one I saw was Nathan Thomas at Hamilton, but I wonder if he'll really want to come back for a third spell. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see with that one.
Yeah, Nathan Thomas is long-term injury now, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I think he's recovering. It was on his Insta feed, wasn't it, the other day? I think that's something that came up. So I'd imagine he's one that's probably not that fussed about coming straight back into football just yet. But I mean, if he was getting towards fitness in January and we desperately needed players, I'd take him back. He's got a positive, the way he plays is very positive. He runs at players. He can have a shot from distance and things like that. I genuinely think he's a player you'd look and think, right, yeah, maybe take him in and see how he does, potentially. Though I wouldn't be surprised if Hartlepool actually went for him when he's back fit again, because obviously they're back in the league now. So better location for him. I suppose he's based in the northeast. Not much else to cover, is there, Dan? I think.
No, without getting angry.
No, I think we've done as much as we can, and yeah, just one thing after another, isn't it? So we'll take a little break now, and we'll be back in just a sec, and we'll be talking about the Horsham game. So we'll be back just then. And we're back for part 2, Dan. We're looking ahead to the Horsham game now. And as usual, the second half of the show this season has been sponsored by the Carl United Supporters Club London branch. The London branch is open to all Carl United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore, and of course, every part of London and the South East, and also in Cumbria. They regularly meet up on away trips, as well as arranging many social events and supporters games and fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section this season too. You can find out more about London Branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. First up, Dan, we've got the catching up with the opposition section, haven't we? And it's a belter this week. This week we spoke to Horsham fan John Dalby, who's a member of the Lardy Army. He's going to talk about their incredible FA Cup run that the Hornets have been on this season, despite their poor performances in the league, what it's like following a non-league club full-time, and we also got an explanation to the story behind the Lardy Army thing. So we'll play that bit just now. John, thanks for giving up your time today to speak to us about all things Horsham, because it's strange. When we do these things normally, we talk to fans of EFL clubs, and we've got a fairly decent understanding of most other League Two sides, but Horsham is a complete new world to us. We don't know anything about the club, so you're going to take us on a little bit of a journey today, and I think it's fair to say it's been a long old journey for the Hornets to get to this stage in the FA Cup, hasn't it? Yeah, because
it has, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 7 ties you've played, haven't you, so far?
So yeah, this will be the 8th game on Saturday. So we've had 3 replays, and we've not had it easy at all. Each game has been pretty tough. We played the top team in the league below us, the top team in our league, and then Eastbourne in the league above us, and then Woking in the conference. So we've kind of stepped up a level each time. And you're probably aware our form in the league isn't too hot. We've only won once all season, so the cup has been a bit of a relief. And we've outperformed ourselves. We really have. We've kind of really done the team proud, and it's been really impressive. The win over Woking was something special.
The fact that you've been beating teams in each league better each time has got me a little bit worried now, because we're not great this season. Let's just put it that way. How much does it mean though to a club like Horsham? Because the level you're at, it's level 7, isn't it? I think in the pyramid, isn't it? And chances like this to play against an EFL side don't come up too often. I think Swansea was the last time you played one, about 2008 and 2007, sorry, and
2007, yeah.
What is it like to the fans to not just be able to play a club, but also coming all the way up north? I know it's a long journey, but all the way to Carlisle to play Brunton Park.
I mean, it is a huge thing. This is our FA Cup final. You often kind of hear the media patronising clubs of our size, but this really is our cup final. It's only the 4th time we've reached the first round. First time since 2007 when we actually got to the second round and played Swansea, and 1947, 1966, 2007, and now 2021. 140-year history of the club. It's happened 4 times. So, when the goal went in against Woking, about 5 minutes to go, that last 10 minutes, it was absolutely brutal. Kind of the whole ground erupted, capacity crowd. Into our fairly new ground, and it absolutely it was a really special moment, and ever since then we went and watched the draw in the clubhouse. When we drew Carlisle, we got a league club. Everyone was pleased. Yes, we talked about the kind of the distance and stuff like that, but we got a club and a tie that captures the imagination. Playing Carlisle, a league club, a club that has at some stage kind of sat atop the whole football pyramid.
Oh, don't remind us. It's been a while.
So when we, so Carlisle, it's a long, it's a long old distance, but it's somewhere we've never been before as a club. It's the furthest we've ever been for was Nottingham, I believe, and that was back in 1940s. And so, ever since the draw, everyone has been kind of talking about like how we're getting up there, who's going up on Friday, who's going Saturday, who's staying until Sunday, trains, driving. There's the coach, the club have done a great deal on a coach that's going up and back on a day. So, everyone is kind of making every effort to go and everyone's just excited. We've got a fans WhatsApp group that, everyone's kind of talking. It's constant messages, constant kind of discussion about the great game. Everyone's excited.
I mean, it's part of the adventure, isn't it? Having a long
Absolutely.
trip almost. You'd almost think. I mean, if you got Crawley, I know it's a close game to you, but it's not quite as exciting going 8 miles up the road, is it? Really, in that sense.
Exactly. There were games we wanted, games we didn't want. You definitely don't want another non-league team. Now you're here, you want a kind of a big name, a big club. Somewhere new, somewhere different. Crawley would have been, fairly disappointing. Although, it's always good to lock horns.
Local derby, isn't it? How long have you been following the club then, mate? Is it the only club you follow? Because it's a weird question to ask, but because a lot of people follow non-league teams, but obviously follow big teams as well, don't they? Are they the only team you follow?
No, I do have a big team. But. I have a big team that I can watch on TV. So it's Spurs for my sins. But I go perhaps once a season, once every 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I'm a proper tourist fan when it comes to Spurs. But Horsham's my club. I've been a Horsham fan since 1989. That was my first game. My dad took me as a teenager, and I've basically they've been my club ever since. When you're watching a non-league club, when you watch a club and you're there in a crowd of less than 200, it kind of means something. And I'm not saying it doesn't mean something for Carlisle or anyone, clubs all the way up the ladder. But you have a connection. I certainly have a connection with the club, and I know a lot of the other fans. They really do have a connection with the club. So they are my team. I support them over and above Spurs, and and a lot of the other fans, they've all got second clubs. But Horsham is very much the first club.
Brilliant. What's the standard of football like at your level? Because I watch a little bit of non-league football where I am. I live in Liverpool, so I go to watch Prescott Cables every now and then, and I also try to watch Workington, who's our sort of local non-league club in Cumbria, every chance to get. And you get some decent teams at the level. I understand that you guys actually like to pass the football a bit, don't you? Because you'll certainly enjoy the Brunton Park pitch because it's like a bowling green at times.
Well, that is good to hear. Yeah, we do play fairly decent football for our level. We like to think we do. I'm not, again, we're second bottom of the league this season, so I'm not sure how successful that is. But it's like most leagues. The quality varies. And the quality varies based on money. Money does have a huge impact at this level. A bit of money in, and you can see players coming in from kind of long distances, and the clubs go up. But we try to keep it on the ground. We try to play nice football. We've got a 4G pitch, great facilities, our stadium. So it benefits us to play proper football. We've always tried to play like that, but
there always seems to be a few sort of clubs in the sort of the M25 belt sort of area, doesn't there? They've got a bit of money, don't they? And they throw it about, and it just seems to jump from one club to another every few seasons, doesn't it? But you guys clearly haven't been one of those clubs down the years. It's probably fair to say.
No. So I mean, we've been through the mill in kind of recent years. So we became homeless in 2008, and then spent 10 years kind of drifting around various places. We got our new ground, moved in 2019, played half a season there, and then of course COVID hit, so we get to kind of have a full season in there. We're probably fairly well off as a club, compared to some of the others, but but we're not kind of doing the Billericay or stuff like that where you kind of throw money at players and then your chairman gets bored and wanders off.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do see it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual team then. Who would you say the star men on your side that United fans need to look out for at the weekend?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, kind of in case you got your scouts listening. But no, I mean, so the big players. Hopefully, he's going to be fit. Is Shamir Fenelon, and so he's had some time actually at Crawley and played league football. So he's our striker, but he's struggled for fitness this season. He hasn't started for a few weeks, so it's touch and go whether he'll be ready for Saturday. You got Charlie Harris. He's our kind of cultured midfielder, kind of silky touch. He's a bit good on free kicks. If he can get into the game and he can kind of start controlling things, then he could be a bit of a danger. And then Lee Harding. He's probably been our best player this season. He's a kind of winger. Tends to play on the right. Can play on the left and through the middle, but he's got pace. He's been working really hard this season, and it's really paid dividends. So those are probably the best, kind of my favourite anyway this season.
And your gaffer's been in charge for quite a while, hasn't he? I seem to remember he's done quite a good job there.
Yeah, it's about 5 6 seasons. I can't remember exactly. He took over when we were at our lowest. We just got relegated back to the county league for the first time since the 40s, and it was pretty desperate times. He came in, galvanised the club, brought in players. We got promoted at the first time of asking, back to kind of the normal level. And then after 3 seasons there, we won in the playoffs and got back up to the Isthmian Premier, which is where we are now. So yeah, Dom we trust. He's absolute legend.
Brilliant. Now I'll ask you for your prediction in a minute, but before we do that, I've got to ask you a question all I've had to be asking about is the Lardy Army. What's this all about? What's this obsession with Lard about?
Well, so probably about 25 years ago, a fairly a small group of fans went to a game, and they I don't know, they just got together and decided, actually, look, we want to get behind this team. Again, kind of watching them with a crowd of 100 and 150, and it was a mutual love of kind of various vices. So your beer, your greasy food, and so on and so forth. And from that, kind of the affinity with the club grew, and so in those early days, they used to send bars of lard to opposition chairmen, ahead of big games. So just as a kind of a friendly, the Lardy Army is coming, here's your bar of lard. Generally, it was kind of fairly well accepted. There were the odd occasion where people took it as a bit of an affront or a bit of an insult. Maybe those on the kind of more rotund side. So we continued it, and it's just stayed. So the name, the Lardy Army, it's stuck for kind of those fans who like to think of themselves as liking the finer things in life, if you like. So we have a whole load of songs, a whole load of our own kind of we just try not to sing what we call league songs. Yeah. We'll make our own songs, lots of disco classics, some that are we probably shouldn't sing nowadays, but it's all in good fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, our chairman is a butcher, so you might appreciate you sending him up a lard. He might appreciate it. You never know.
Yeah.
Okay, John, it's been brilliant talking to you, but let's have your prediction for the weekend.
Okay, well, look, I'm confident. Our run has been good, but I'm not going to be greedy, so I'm going to take a 1-1, and we'll bring you back down Horsham, and we'll do you there.
Do you know what? I'd quite happily accept the draw, not in the sense of that we're that bad and we should nearly need a draw. No. I just like to come down and tick off the ground. That's the reason I want to come down, tick off a new ground. I'll probably never get another chance to go. So, but I mean. We do our predictions at the end of the show, but I think I'm going to go for a very close win for us. Very close, which is, if you played us last season, we probably would have battered you. But this season, not confident at all.
Who knows? Who knows? Well, I'm just looking forward to it. We're going to have a great old day.
I really hope you do. John, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Appreciate that. Cheers.
Thanks once again, John, for giving up his time to speak to us. Really hope he enjoys the trip this weekend. Hopefully not too much, because if he really does enjoy the trip, that's not going to be good news for us, is it? I think it's fair to say. But nice little chat. Nice to find out about the whole Lardy Army thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and the club retweeted today that a block of lard has been received.
Excellent stuff. It's a lovely little thing, that, isn't it, non-league? You get these little stories sometimes, don't you? You do get these like mad bands of fans that like follow these teams religiously, don't they? And really get behind them, which is really, really good to see. And really do hope they do enjoy the weekend. Maybe get a consolation goal. Maybe that'd be nice, wouldn't it? I suppose 89th minute when we
need a clean sheet. Harsh.
we do need a clean sheet, really, the way we're playing at the moment. But there you go. So Horsham, the visitors this weekend. Referee is Lewis Smith. He's actually not an EFL referee. He's currently a National League and Premier League 2 level referee, and this is the first time he's going to take charge of a game involving an EFL side. In terms of professional, like outside of like Premier League 2 games, he's taken charge of 6 games this season so far, handing out 19 bookings and 1 red card. Before we go on to should we do the play for both first before we do the talking about previous non-league games, Dan? This is a belter.
We have found a player who played for both teams.
Because we were worried, weren't we, that there wasn't going to be any.
Such is our dedication to Stato land. And it is the one and only, born in Fleet, Alex Haddo.
Alex Haddo.
Yeah. Started his career at Reading as a youth. Made a couple of appearances for them before he joined us in 01-02. It was at the time when we just had an influx of players who'd come in, play a handful of games and disappear, and then the next batch would come in. But it didn't really happy for him, and he sort of went into non-league. He actually went to Hartley Wintney and then Aldershot.
Sounds like a lawyer's that, doesn't it?
Yeah. He had a good, solid couple of seasons at Slough. He was quite established there, scored a few goals, maybe 60-odd appearances. And then he just sort of did the southern non-league circuit, Eastleigh, Salisbury City, Hampton and Richmond, Bognor Regis, and then his last club listed is Horsham. And a little Googling did find match reports featuring him. And couple of interesting stats with Haddo. He was called up to the England futsal squad in 2005 and made a number of appearances for the side. And such is our dedication to find out what these people are up to now, we can confirm he's now a physiotherapist in Austria.
Oh. That's quite ironic, isn't it? We're dealing with injuries, because the reason he left us, obviously, was the fact that he picked up a cruciate ligament injury, didn't he, in a game at Darlington. Now, this game at Darlington is famous for one other thing, isn't it? It is the game that Tino Asprilla was paraded by George Reynolds before the match, wasn't it? When they were going to sign him. He obviously never turned up in Darlington in the end after that. But yeah, I think Richie Foran got his first goal for us in that game as well, I think he might have even missed a penalty in that match too. It was 2-2 draw, I seem to remember. But I remember the injury because it was back at Feetham's, wasn't it? The old ground. I used to love going to Feetham's. Feetham's was a proper football league ground, and that alley to the away end could get interesting, couldn't it, before games occasionally? Yeah. But I remember because it was that stand alongside the pitch, wasn't it? And it was like seating on the top and terracing on the bottom, like a very small version of the paddock and main stand at Carlisle.
And then you got round part of the goal as well. It was a proper ground.
Yeah, but I was standing at the front, and I remember it was right in front of me that happened. He went to get a ball, and he sort of turned on it, and his knee just buckled, and he went, and he was down in agony. And Dolly runs on, and I think he convinced Dolly, like, I'm okay to carry on. I'm fine. I remember this really clearly, and he was fine. And maybe it wasn't as bad an injury at that point, but then literally about 2 minutes later, gets the ball in the same area, turns, and it went, and you heard it go, and you heard him like scream in agony, and you were like, oh, that doesn't look good. That really doesn't look good.
Yeah.
I remember, because at that time, he'd signed on a month-to-month deal. That like you said, that was a time we had loads. Like I'm going to list a few of them here, some absolutely belting names we had here on the short-term deals. You ready for these, Dan? Right. Austin Berkeley, he was one of them. Stuart Elliott, who we mentioned a few times on the play for both, haven't we? I think. Sean Fryers, we mentioned Haddo. Phil Hadlam was on a loan deal. I think it was Mo Harkin. Shea Hughes.
I was waiting for Mo Harkin to appear in the list.
Yeah, Mo Harkin, Shea Hughes. Who else we got down the list here?
Ryan Braybrook.
Ryan Braybrook, yeah. Steve Skinner. Jeez, that's going back a bit, isn't it?
To be fair, Skinner had come through our youth at some point. And
yeah, but he went to
flitted.
Gretna, didn't he?
Yeah, it was very bizarre.
I mean, loaning a player from Gretna, that was quite a low point, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Scott Willis as well, obviously, he was a one-game wonder. He played the opening day, same game as Peter Murphy. But yeah, I remember because Haddo had agreed a one-year deal with us that week, but he hadn't signed it yet. But the club, to be fair on them, I mean, this was the time, of Knighton and all the issues and with money and stuff like that. The club honoured that contract and he got the full year, I think, didn't he? Obviously, he left at the end of it. But that was a pretty decent thing to do. The club didn't have to do that. But yeah, no, it was an interesting one, wasn't he, really? I think he looked like quite a decent little play, little tiny bits of football, but just rotten luck with injuries, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
Nothing much he could do.
He did play a few years and, some of these non-league clubs down south, they do pay quite good wages.
Yeah.
There is a bit of money in some of these clubs, so, you can...
Yeah.
You can be earning a few hundred and have a job,
Yeah,
so.
and he had some decent job. He was a lecturer as well, I think, for a short while at Chichester, I think, at university there. So fair play to the lad. Well, let's talk then, Dan, about... We said we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about a little bit about our history against non-league teams, basically, in the FA Cup. Because actually, touch wood, tempting fate here, we've got quite a good record, haven't we, Dan? Is it fair
We've got
say?
a very good record, to be fair. There's only been the odd blooper.
I mean, you sent me over a list of all the games the other day. You didn't include the pre-war games. I did notice that, actually. So I've dropped them in as well at the bottom. Some interesting ones in the pre-war ones, actually. In terms of... We'll talk briefly then first about the pre-war games, actually, because obviously football was very different back then, wasn't it? So in terms of pre-war, we had 5 games and we lost 2 of those. But this is obviously a time where non-league teams were not necessarily much worse off than league teams, weren't they? I think it's fair to say there was quite some very well-paying non-league teams at that point. So I mean, we played Tunbridge Wells Rangers, Yorkshire Amateurs. They're making a bit of a comeback, aren't they? I've noticed that recently. They've been in like the FA Trophy and stuff. Yeah. Denby United. Now we won all 3 of those games, but then we played Cheltenham Town, who were the first non-league team to beat us in the FA Cup. They beat us 2-1 at Brunton Park, and then we lost to Wigan Athletic 6-1 at Brunton Park. Now, what I should note at this point, another Wigan team, Wigan Borough, had been in the league before that, hadn't they? But they then resigned from the league, and I think most of the players from Wigan Borough went to Wigan Athletic. So they effectively had a very strong team for a non-league side, didn't they, back then?
Yeah.
But yeah, looking through, I mean, in the early days, we played the likes of North Shields, Runcorn, South Liverpool, Billingham Symphonia, Rill.
South Liverpool, they used to be massive in non-league.
Well, John Aldridge started there, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was his first club. Funny enough, everyone wondering about this, South Liverpool's ground was where South Parkway Station in Liverpool is now.
Yeah.
The ground was basically there, and it was when they amalgamated 2 stations, which I think was Allerton and Garston Station, into one big station, South Parkway. It disappeared, basically. The car park essentially is where it was. But yeah, they're actually back now in the pyramid system at the very bottom, same level as sort of Carlisle and Penrith. So they're just starting out. But yes,
the 2 that stand out sort of in the 50s and 60s are the Gravesend and Northfleet one.
Yes,
which was 63.
Yeah,
and then 64 Crook Town.
Yeah. I mean, the Gravesend one's famous, and that's the last time a non-league team beat us at home in the FA Cup, 1-0 defeat, because that cost Ivor Powell his job, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we'd only just won promotion like the season before, hadn't we? I think I seem to remember. So that was quite a shocking result at the time, really, to lose to a team like Gravesend and Northfleet at that stage in the competition. I mean, Crook Town as well, another one that really stands out. And after Crook Town, our next defeat wasn't until the 80s, wasn't it? 87.
Yeah.
Well, we lost 4-2 at Macclesfield Town. That was quite an infamous game as well, wasn't it?
There is highlights of this on YouTube if you're brave enough to look. But it was an eventful game on and off the pitch.
Yes,
by all accounts.
Let's just leave it that way, shall we? After that, the last time we lost to a non-league team. I'm sorry to mention it because you were there.
It was 22 years ago last weekend, wasn't it?
Ilkeston Town away.
Yeah.
The infamous game of Barry Thompson, wasn't it?
Just
Like, it came
move on.
It's baffling, wasn't it? Yeah, and when you watch it back, I mean, did I remember rightly? Did Tony Hemmings play for Ilkeston in that game?
I think he did, yeah.
Because I think he got a move to Chester on the basis of that game, and then obviously ends up with us the season after.
Yeah.
I always liked Tony Hemmings. I don't know why. I don't think he was the greatest player in the world, but I had something I liked about him. But yeah, that was a 2-1 defeat. Paul Harris scored our goal in that game, and yeah, Ilkeston beating us, and it was. I remember listening to it on Radio Cumbria and just thinking what a shambles we were at that point, and some things never changed. I suppose.
We were just terrible that day.
I mean, since then,
Paul Harris actually scored an alright goal.
Yeah, if you watch it back, because I think the highlights of that are on. Are they on Jeff's channel? I think on YouTube. Possibly, yeah. But yeah, I mean, since then, generally we've had very good performances in the FA Cup. I mean, just before that, we obviously beat Shepshed Dynamo 6-0 in the FA Cup. That's our joint best result in the FA Cup, I think, isn't it? Alongside
Tipton Town.
Yeah, the day when Gary Medine scored 4 and Zoko scored 2.
We also put 6 past Billingham Symphonia in 56, but they got 1 back.
Yeah, they did. I mean, since then, the nearest we've come to defeat was probably the Hayes and Yedding game last season, where obviously Big John saved us from embarrassment there, didn't he? At the death.
Big time.
Bar that, probably the next nearest would be the Grays one, which that's a famous one.
If you look at recent years, I went to Welling. Did you do Welling? I can't remember.
I didn't. I was in Madrid that week, and I watched it online.
I did Welling. That was comfortable. You did St Albans, which once we put our foot down was comfortable.
Yeah.
We both watched Dulwich last year on telly. That was comfortable.
Yeah.
It should be comfortable, but it's Carlisle United, and we're in shocking form. So
the difference with those games is we even allowing for the Dulwich one where we weren't totally rubbish that season under Presley, but we weren't great. But the ones where we struggled, looking Grays Athletic, we were really struggling that season, and we were lucky that there was a floodlight failure, basically.
Wasn't there? Yeah.
They were going to beat us that time, weren't we? We played on the second round day in the end, the replayed replay. And actually, Gary Bedeen got us out of trouble in the home leg, didn't he? He scored a late equaliser in that game, I remember. And Boreham Wood, they took the lead in extra time, didn't they? They were going to take a 2-0 lead, and Super Greg Fleming made a penalty save, didn't he, in that game?
I was at Euro Disney when we had that replay.
Yeah, I remember listening to it on the radio and them going mad when it was saved. And obviously the behaviour of their squad after the game's infamous, to say the least. But you look back to some interesting ties down the years, isn't there? Telford's another one that was close, and I remember the replay. If you watch it on YouTube, the keeper gets sent off, doesn't he? I think for dissent and outfield players to go in nets. And obviously the games in the 90s that were moved back in the days when non-league clubs were allowed to move their games, weren't they? Obviously
Knowsley at Everton, Guiseley at Bradford.
Knowsley don't even exist. Knowsley don't even exist as a club anymore. It's incredible, isn't it? So lots of interesting ties against non-league clubs down the years. So hopefully this weekend's won't be one of them, will it? That's nice and comfortable is what we're really hoping for. So let's talk about Horsham themselves, Dan. First time we've ever played them, either a competitive or even a friendly fixture. They're based in Horsham in West Sussex. That's about 18 miles north of Brighton and 8 miles west of Crawley, if you're into your geography. They play in the Isthmian League Premier Division. Now that's step 7 in the pyramid. That's 1 level below National League South and 1 above the equivalent northern level that Workington play at, to give you an idea of what sort of standard we're playing against this weekend. Their cup form this season has been quite incredible, hasn't it?
It has, hasn't it? When we were researching, I dug it up, and they've actually played 7 games in 4 rounds because they've had 3 replays.
They've seen off Haywards, Kingstonian, Eastbourne Borough, and National League side Woking along the way, and they beat Woking without a replay. They got a late winner in that game, and the lad from the Lardy Army was saying the last 5 or 10 minutes of that game was just awful to watch because they were just sitting back and hold on to this for dear life, basically. And they, as he said as well, each round they've beaten a team from 1 level higher. That's worrying, isn't it, at this game? That doesn't really fill you with confidence. What I would say is, in contrast, their league form has been dreadful this season, hasn't it? Worse than ours, which is telling. They've managed just 1 win all season, and they sit second bottom of the table. The goal difference isn't that bad, though. It's only -8 in 11 games. It does suggest they're not getting battered by teams, doesn't it? It's a lot of narrow defeats in that, I'd imagine. So pretty tight for them. Their manager is Dominic Di Paolo. He took over as manager back in 2015, and he's overseen a huge turnaround of fortunes, hasn't he, Dan, for the Hornets? I mean, when he took over, they dropped to Sussex County League level, and I think that's about step 9, boss. It might even be step 10.
Yeah.
It's very. In fact, no, it would be. I think it would be step 9. Yeah, it'd be step 9 they dropped to. He got them promoted, I think, as champions in the first season back, and then a couple of years later, he got them promoted again, back to the level they're at now. So, back in the Isthmian League Premier Division. Hopefully, they'll manage to keep themselves up this season. As John from the Lardy Army said, star man Charlie Harris, probably their midfielder. He began his career at Brighton Hove Albion, spent a season at Barnsley unusually, and then he moved to the South East non-league circuit, and he's been at Horsham since 2018. He's a cultured midfielder with a decent set piece on him, so we've got to hope we don't give away any silly free kicks near the edge of the box, really. And absolutely on cue, we're going to do that at the weekend now, aren't we? I've said that. Be absolutely typical Carl United. Current form-wise in the league, they're currently second bottom in the form table as they are in the actual table. Their record in the league is lost 4, drawn, lost, basically. So, 3, sorry. So yeah, not great at the moment. But I mean, I'm expecting a tough challenge. I'm expecting a team. They by all accounts like to play a bit of football, don't they? So they'll certainly enjoy playing at Brunton Park.
They've got nothing to lose. If they enjoy playing football, they're going to enjoy playing at Brunton Park because it's a snooker table, and they've got nothing to lose. Why not have a go?
Yeah,
that sort of team, you're better getting hoofed 5-0 having a go than sitting tight for a 1-1, I think.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong, I know they'd like a replay, but
they're better off having a go, getting a goal, and then sitting on it. Basically, that's what they do. Just maybe leave one up and try and hit you on the counter.
Yeah.
Not that I want to give them any ideas or anything, but they should know, if they've got any sense, that when we go behind in games, we don't come back. It just doesn't happen. Let's talk about United then, Dan. Injury-wise, Josh Dixon and Max Norman both definitely out. Brendan Dickinson, a slight doubt of his dead leg, maybe?
I would probably rest him. I don't see the point in rushing him back, given the level of opposition.
Yeah, it might be a physical game. You don't know, do you? So you don't want to risk it making it worse. Big decision to make, really, isn't it, for Miller? I know he's not hinted he's going to pick his strongest team, but he's not made clear if he's going to make it. I mean, surely after last weekend, you look and say, well, that wasn't my strongest team, so I'm not going to pick them again. So that does leave him open to making plenty of changes, possibly. You would expect changes after last week. Do you go wholesale? No, wholesale, sorry. I mean, any side we put out in this game should win, but we shouldn't underestimate them at the same time. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what would you do in terms of making any changes?
Like I've already said, I would play Riley and Divine in the middle. Given that Dickinson you could rest, I'd give Lewis Bell a game. If he's that good, bloody play the lad.
I was saying this with John last night as well. If he's supposedly as good as Holdsworth is been claiming he is, why is he not playing? Why can't he make the matchday squad sometimes? That suggests to me he's actually not that good, or they've got too excited about him. Which I don't want to say that, because I've not seen enough of the lads. I know I've seen him play at Sheffield United. He looked okay, looked solid. But it suggests to me that they've got a bit ahead of themselves and made the kid out to be better than he is, which isn't fair on him. Doesn't give him time to develop.
I'd persevere with Clough, but I would play, depending if Young's allowed, or play the Fish. Sod it, play.
You know what? 100% agree. I'd play Fishburne in
because
this game.
he's been playing similar levels for Lancaster.
It's exactly the same level, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah. Look what he did.
Yeah.
Defensively, I would probably play Feeney and Dinzey, just as a thing to those that played last week, to say you're not good enough, you're not playing this week. Make them want to get back in. But we could probably give 100 different lineups. We're not going to know till 2:00, are we?
No, we're not. I mean, personally, obviously, I'd stick with Howard in net. I wouldn't even take any risk of playing Jensen just because it's a cup game. No. I think we just need to get that established. Who's number one here? Jensen will get his game in the Peter Trophy in the midweek. Yeah. Unless he has is he fit because he's not playing the cup, and in which case, all right, play Gab Breeze then in that game.
Yeah,
because it doesn't matter. Because we're through in that stupid competition. I play Howard in net. I probably would stick with Mellor at right back. Armour at left back. I don't even really got much choice there. That's the problem. Centre backs, Feeney. I can't even say this, but I think I'd still probably stick with McDonald because I just don't think Dinzey is any good. And I'm worried if he gets bullied by a non-league centre forward and it doesn't go well. Suddenly the pressure's then on, like, well, my God, we signed a player who can't even do it against seventh level players.
Goes back at the end of December then, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what worries me. I would almost say to McDonald, this is your last chance, Saloon.
Yeah.
This really is your last chance, otherwise you're out in January because that wasn't good enough last week. That's the way I'd approach it, personally. In midfield, obviously you'd stick with Gibson on the right. In mid-centre, I'd probably stick with Guy, to be honest. I'd go Guy and Riley in there. On the left, I'd play Charters.
There's an argument to play Charters ahead of Bell, possibly.
He's solid. He's solid. He can do a job there. He'd be fine. He's not playing against league players. It might give him a little bit more confidence. And up front, I'd play Clough and I'd play the Fish or Young, one of those two. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, Abraham's when I use him.
Well, he could slice the half-time oranges or something. Maybe put it up on his TikTok, or if he's got out like that, you know.
Yeah.
Bit of banter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, more and more I see Mampara as well. I'm not 100% convinced about him as a player.
Not good enough. Not good enough. And that's not being harsh on the lad. He reeks of a National League South player to me, based on what we've seen.
Yeah,
he'll be at Dulwich Hamlet or Hampton and Richmond in a couple of years.
Yeah, or like someone like Chorley or someone like that if he's up north and stuff like that. It just everything so far. He's so raw. He's a player who probably, when he left Everton, should have gone to a league club at that point and not gone to QPR and sit in the under 23s. That's what he should.
Come on then, let's have predictions. Come on.
After all I've said, no, actually, you go first. You go first. Go on.
I'm going to go for a 3-0 victory. Mm-hmm. I think the first half will be tight. Could even be 0-0 at half time, maybe 1-0.
Yeah.
But I would like to think after an hour, 60, 70 minutes, the fitness and professionalism would kick in. I'm going to go for goal scorers. Riley, if he plays, to prove a point type thing. I think Clough will get a free kick and ping it in. And Gibson deserves a goal.
So you said you want Fish to start, but you're not backing him to score in your prediction?
Well, it depends if he plays, but I think he'll make a good nuisance of himself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to go for 4-1. I can see them scoring. I reckon they'll get a free kick and score. But for us, I'm going to go with Riley, like you, Clough, Charters, and the Fish. That's who I'm going to go for with goals on mine. Mike has sent us his predictions as well. Let's hear what Mike's got to say.
It's a bit of a weird one, this one, because quite a few fans are worried that the underdogs are going to pull off an upset, but I'm actually hoping that we do win, and I'm going to go for a 1-0 win with... I'll go Luis Alessandra with the goal.
Thanks, Mike, for sending that from inside your microwave this afternoon. Weird one, isn't it? It must be in work, I'm guessing. But yeah, no, tight result. Mike's going for us, isn't he? He's not fancying the goals much, is he? So there you go.
I hope it is an 89th.
I hope not. Bloody hell, that would be painful to watch, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't imagine they'd be getting many cheers if it was an 89th minute winner to win 1-0 for us when they leave the pitch. Let's do the X-Files then, Dan. Not quite as busy this week, but still a fair few.
Yeah, a few bits and bobs. Andy Cook scored for Bradford in a decent 1-1 draw with Forest Green. Angelo Balanta scored again for Dagenham in a 2-2 draw with Chesterfield, which is a decent result. He gets knocked, but he's scoring again. Harry McCurdy, Swindon, in the 3-1 win at Oldham. Yep. Paddy Madden scored for Stockport. George Glendon's becoming a regular, isn't he?
Yeah, he's getting
scored for Chester in the 3-2 defeat at Southport. Joe Garner finally scored for Fleetwood in their 3-all draw.
His first goal for them?
I think it is, because there is a Garner being scoring, but it's Jed or something, yeah. Cole Stockton got a goal. He'd quietened up for a couple of weeks. Nick Anderton scored the winner for Bristol Rovers in the 1-0 win. David Amu scored a late goal in Port Vale's big win at Crawley. Max Hunt got sent off for Yeovil in the 0-0 draw at Solihull. James Tavernier scored a lovely goal for Rangers. It really was a nice goal. I know I'm slightly biased, but it was a lovely goal. And Jack Bridge scored for Southend in the 4-1 win over Dover.
It's a big win for Southend, though, isn't it? Because they've really struggled this season. Just on Anderton.
I think it shows how bad Dover are as well.
Yeah. Just on Anderton. Never thought we'd say this, would we? But God, what we could have done with him right at the moment, really. I think even him as captain or someone a bit more vocal maybe in there. It's tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Couple other bits of news. Adam Collin is the head of goalkeeping coaching in Mansfield's Academy, which kind of suits him because he lives in the area and he does coaching anywhere, but he's still playing for his team. Yeah. And Anthony Sweeney is caretaker boss at Hartlepool after Dave Challoner went to Stockport.
I mean, that's such an indication of the financial disparity between the National League and League Two at the moment, isn't it, really? The fact that Hartlepool are having a decent season and then a return to the EFL, and Dave Challoner's basically gone back to his old club Stockport because they're offering an incredible amount of money to him, basically, a longer deal that Football League Club can't compete with.
He won't be the first, he won't be the last, will he?
No, he certainly won't. Well, that's it for this week then, Dan. Thanks once again to our sponsors, the London branch. Remember, you can subscribe to the podcast through all good podcast apps, Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere like that. And if you can all in those apps, please do leave us a 5-star review. Really do appreciate it. We've got some great feedback on there. And also you can follow us on social media at Brunton Bugle on Twitter, search for Brunton Bugle on Facebook. We're also on the Be Just and Fear Not Facebook group, and we also post on the Cumbrians.net message board. Before we talk about upcoming episodes, got to give a mention to the people who have supported us, Dan. Really, really appreciate this. We obviously started this thing on Acast that you can make a small contribution to us, basically, to help us with our running costs. And the London branch has done really well for us. They've covered us a lot in terms of our hosting costs for this season. It was brilliant. But obviously, there's still some studio costs and other bits on top of that. And I think it's the host, the web URL as well, and things like that. So they cost us a little bit. But it's been brilliant, hasn't it, Dan? We've had enough to cover us about 3 or 4 months of the studio, basically, from maybe 5 or 6 individuals, which is brilliant. Like, I didn't expect, because we'd be happy.
Really appreciated, isn't it?
If you chuck in like 2 or 3 quid, hugely appreciate that. We're not demanding it. If you want to keep listening for free and enjoying it, brilliant. No issues there at all. But fantastic to get so many people helping us in that way. And we've put the link up on social media. We'll stick it up again next week. So if you want to chip us a little bit our way, feel free. If you don't, that's fine. No issues at all. Yeah. Upcoming episodes, Dan. We've got the Barrow preview next week, haven't we? So that'll be an interesting one.
Did we say Mike's probably doing that one?
I think Mike's going to do that one, yes. But what we are going to do next week, hopefully, if we can pin down a time where all 3 of us are available, we're going to do that one on the state of the club. We're going to do our special. I think the idea I've got in my head, Dan, I'm not sure about you, but I think we're going to split into 3 or 4 parts. So we'll be focusing on the ownership / succession, whatever the hell you want to call it, issue. The trust issue, because that is an issue, no doubt about it. We've got supporters' trust that's just limp at the moment. The ground issue, because again, that's something that really holds back Carlisle United, Brunton Park, as much as we love the place. And basically just the general setup of the club issue, I think, and various bits to do with that. So plenty to discuss in that episode, I think, and we'll be asking for your views on that as well, definitely. So
we could maybe release that when it's second round of the cup weekend after Horsham have beat us in a giant
after we're knocked out,
so you've got something to listen to.
Oh God, don't even joke about it, because you know that's going to happen. Now you've said that, you've very much jinxed it. But yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for listening as usual. Thanks Dan for joining me. Hopefully cup successful weekend. Up the Blues.
Up the Blues.